Everyday Juggler, your source for juggling highlights, interviews, tutorials, and reviews. And now your host, Sean Livingston.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Everyday Juggler Profiles. Today we get to hang out with Matan Presberg. Matan, thanks so much for being with us. And
of course.
I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, how long you've been juggling, and what you're most excited about when it comes to juggling right now.
I'm from Rochester, New York. I started juggling 14 years ago when I was 6. And I think the thing that is most exciting to me about juggling right now is just ball numbers juggling. It's probably my number one and my biggest passion right now.
Okay, and has numbers always kind of been your thing, or is that newer?
Pretty much. I mean, when I was 6, my goal all along was to qualify 6 at 6. So pushing to the next number has been important to me, and it's actually gotten less important to me as I've gotten older and matured as a juggler.
Mm-hmm. How old are you now?
I'm 19, 20 in 3 days.
Okay. So is your goal now to qualify 19 at 19?
Well, I'm going to try for 20, but we'll see what happens. You
might have to skip 19 and go right to 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, so did you qualify 6 at 6?
I did. I qualified 6 at 6 on camera.
Mm-hmm. So I found that I was telling you right before we talked.
Mm-hmm.
So that's online for anybody that wants to see, and
yes, it is.
It'll make you feel real bad about yourself.
Bad about me too.
So that's awesome. All right, so let's just start with 6. You started juggling at 6. How'd you get into it? Why'd you get into it?
I don't remember exactly why, but I know that we had a little plastic toy with ramps and plastic balls going down, and I decided I wanted to juggle. I picked up some balls, and I don't actually have a memory of this, but my parents have told me that I tried to do the shower pattern. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was super persistent. I practiced for hours and hours and hours, and then I was with my family and my grandparents, and we went to a kite festival in Rochester. And Jeff Peden was there, and I think he performed with Airplay there. I don't know if it was Wes and Jeff or whatever. And then the Rochester Juggling Club was there. And my first memory of juggling is standing with one of the club members. His name is Don, who taught me how to juggle, and he was trying to teach me juggle 3 balls, throw it up in the air, and then keep juggling. And it was the hardest thing I'd ever done.
He was teaching you Cascade, I assume.
Right. So he taught me Cascade, and because I had just spent so many hours practicing wrong, I was actually able to get the correct version pretty quickly.
Okay.
So he taught me Cascade there, and then he tried to teach me the 3-ball 1-up. And I don't remember if I got it, but.
So did you learn shower by yourself? 3-ball shower?
No.
Okay. That would have been impressive if that was the first thing you learned at age 6.
Yes, it would have.
So this happened when you were 6, but then by the time before you were 7, you were qualifying 6 balls.
Yes. So I just practiced a lot, and I went to the juggling club every Sunday. And I was 6, so I had a lot of free time, and I practiced a lot.
I have a background in linguistics, and as many people know, language acquisition is just so much easier for kids. And another thing about linguistics is it's really like mathematical. Mm-hmm. And I think in a lot of ways, juggling and linguistics have a lot in common. So it kind of makes sense that at such a young age, it's easy to pick up. And it makes me, for Ava, I totally want to make sure that she's juggling really young, so she'll be way better than I ever will be. So then what happened? Did you keep juggling, or did you take a hiatus?
I actually took a 7-year hiatus. I performed. Perform is a strong word. I went up on stage at my elementary school and performed once or twice, maybe. And I think I practiced juggling for a couple months when I was 10, but I didn't really get back into juggling until I was 14. And I've been juggling ever since.
When you were 14, could you still qualify 6 balls?
No, but I'm pretty sure I could still qualify five.
Mm.
Yeah, I never really got to a comfortable point with six. I qualified. I think I got 14 catches, but nothing, no good runs.
Mm-hmm. And then how did you stay into it at 14?
Um, I think I just like relearned why I love juggling, and I think without just a very narrow goal of juggling six at six, I think I started to see the possibilities of juggling open up, and as I got better and better, more and more possibilities opened up, and I've kind of fell in love with juggling more and more as I've gone. So I'm at the peak of how much I love juggling and how much I practice, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's pretty cool. I like it.
What are a couple things about juggling that you love so much?
Um, I really like how so many different things can relate to juggling, and so many different things can uh, help me create new, interesting juggling tricks. Um, and just how I can connect things in my mind, in space, in the air. I'm a very math-oriented person. I'm studying computer science, so I love site swap. I love the math and the shapes, and um, I don't know. I love pushing what I can do, but also the ability to be creative and create new things.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that juggling and site swap has played any role in kind of developing that passion for mathematics?
That's a really good question. I have no idea. Because I started loving math so early and I started juggling so early. I don't know how to
Was
differentiate
it the
them.
chicken or the egg, right?
Right.
Uh, yeah. So you mentioned that juggling relates to other things in your life. What's an example of something it's related to?
So sidetrack a little bit. I've played music for my entire life, and so the skill of practicing um, is something that I've learned over the years. And I really like how I can apply the things I learned from practicing music to practicing juggling. And now that I have two different things that I've practiced extensively, I can learn how to practice different things. I love how math relates. I love how when I juggle, it gives me a better sense of where my body is in space, and I feel more coordinated. I increase my proprioception.
Can
Yeah.
you define that for all of us who don't know what it means?
Proprioception is one of our lesser known senses, and it's our ability to know where our limbs are in space related to each other. My favorite example is close your eyes and touch your nose. How did you do it? Proprioception.
Mm-hmm. So Mike Moore is very very good at
Yes, I learned that term from Mike Moore.
that. Oh, there you go. That's awesome. Who has supported you through this journey the most? Your juggling journey.
Um, I think my dad supported me a lot when I was young. Um, when I got back into juggling, I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, I love now that I'm in college and I've kind of brought juggling to my friends a little bit. I've taught a bunch of people how to juggle, so I would say my friends are my biggest support, and my friends who I've created through juggling. And I mean, part of what I love about juggling that I didn't say earlier is just I meet new people and I meet really interesting people, and I've made some of my best friends just because we both juggle. Like Quinn Lewis, I met him through juggling, and now I talk to him almost every day. So,
That's awesome. So, what kind of festivals have you been to since you started getting more involved with juggling again?
so I went to TurboFest last January,
Awesome.
and then I went to the RIT Juggling, and then I went to the Guelph Mini Fest on World Juggling Day. And then over the summer, I got to go to IJA, which was awesome. And then I went to Kingston, and I've been to. That might be it.
Man, you've been hitting them up because that was all within the
I've been
last year, right?
past 2 years.
Past 2 years. Okay.
But I've gone to some of those twice,
Okay.
like Turbo and
Yeah.
Juggling.
Which one of those sticks out to you the most?
I love the RIT Juggling because it's where I grew up. I know a lot of people. I feel a little bit more of a sense of community, but I think Turbo was my favorite festival. The level of skill is just so high, and it's a 4-day festival, and I love being around circus people. Yeah, it's an amazing festival. Would highly recommend.
Yeah. What do you have any stories from Turbo Fest that you can share?
I love in Turbo just like playing combat until 2 or 3 a.m. Just like a lot of people in the gym, just hammering out some combat to the wee hours of the morning, and then wake up and do it again.
Yeah, that reminds me of my interview with Joe Showers. He said like the exact same thing.
Yes, it's the classic Turbo, like favorite part of Turbo.
That's awesome. So you're known for numbers.
Yes.
And obviously you're really good at it. Do you have any tips for anybody that wants to get into numbers? What are the main things to work on?
I think the best thing you can do is know what you can do and know how to keep slowly pushing. Try not to jump and try something that's too hard for you, because you will spend a lot of hours on just dropping and not making progress. If I don't feel myself making progress on some particular thing in a practice, I will give it different amounts of time depending on how dedicated I am on that particular day, how much I care about the trick. If I don't make progress, if I don't feel the progress, I wait until I'm a little bit better to go back to the trick. Because if I'm not making progress, how am I going to get the trick? I just said progress like 1,000 times.
That's okay. It's all about the progress. So it's really evaluating where you're at and working on what is, what makes sense for where you're at. So not necessarily pushing yourself to do something that you're not even close to doing.
Yeah, and also just never being satisfied with a pattern. Always seeing how you can improve it, how you can change it, raising, lowering the pattern, just making sure you have the most possible control over any given pattern. And as you work on harder patterns, you should be able to look back at the easier patterns and try them and realize you have more control than you did before.
So let's do like a concrete example. If somebody's got 5-ball cascade down, that's all they can do. Should they think about moving to 6 balls because it's kind of a different pattern, or should they work on 5-ball side swaps?
Both. I think that just figure out what 5-ball tricks you can do. They can not really seem like tricks. They can not even look cool, but just like how to make the pattern a little bit harder. How can I throw one little trick and get back into pattern? And for 6-ball, I think it's always, so I said you shouldn't jump, but it's always good to really push what you can do. And I would always say, try the next thing. See where you're at. Because one of the coolest things is when you try something, it's too hard for you, you put it away, and then you come back a month later, 2 months later, however long it is, and you're like, wow, I made progress on that without even touching it. And that's, to me, how I gauge my progress as a juggler.
Yep, awesome. Have you, just to change the topic a little bit, have you done any performing?
Yeah, I've done some performances. I've been performing a lot more in college than I did beforehand. And this semester I've had 6 different performances, which is way more than usual. I love performing. I want to get better at it. I like sharing my juggling. But I recognize that my performing skill is way below my juggling skill, and that's what I need to work on. My stage presence, my attitude, how I put together my performance, just all about it, and that's why I really don't like saying no to a performing gig, because I know it's an opportunity for me to practice performing.
How do you think that performing benefits your juggling self?
I think it makes me more aware of what I do. It makes me more aware of how my patterns look. Um, Whenever I'm on stage, I'm way more self-conscious about even if a pattern is like a little bit unclean, I'm like, ah,
Mm,
which is not necessarily a good thing. But I appreciate if I'm nailing a trick on stage, I know that I can do that trick.
hmm
And it really gives me a good sense of where I am.
hmm Yeah, I saw that. I think it was today. You posted on Juggling Rock. It might have been yesterday. I think it was today. A question about is it more important to work on the cleanliness of a pattern,
Hmm.
or is it okay like performance wise just to get it out there?
Hmm.
You got a number of responses. I read Quinn's and then I got tired. Um,
Yes.
have you made any conclusions based on what people have said?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I haven't really changed my opinion based on what people said. I thought there were some interesting things. I try and, especially recently, just try and make my patterns as perfect as possible. And even beyond that, when I work on a pattern, I try and make sure that I know what I want it to look like, and like what it looks like now and what I want it to look like, and trying to practice towards my ideal vision of what the pattern is. And then after I get the ideal vision, then I can slowly start to just make it comfortable.
Hmm
Um, so I was working on 8 balls the other day, and I was trying to make the pattern just as narrow as possible so I could practice very, very precise throws, knowing that I can make the pattern a little bit wider when I want to run it.
hmm
Because I think practicing perfect throws is uh, the best way for me to get better. I don't know about the best way for other people.
hmm And certainly, when you're performing, all that comes back. How comfortable you are with those perfect throws.
Mhm.
I know you haven't performed that much yet, but
Mhm.
have you had any like memorable performance where you got done? You're like, man, that was so awesome, and this is why I'm doing it. This is why I want to keep doing it.
I think every time I perform, I remember why I like performing. It's really easy for me to get anxious. Saying no to a performance is really easy, but just getting up there and hearing people appreciate what I'm doing, it's why I love performing, and it's why I do it.
hmm hmm I loved it Juggling when you were the first time around. You were trying to get 9 balls, or it was the second time. I don't remember which time, but it you kept almost getting there, and then
Yeah.
and everybody was like, ah. You're like,
Yeah.
one more time, and then you finally got it, and everybody was just like cheering. It was awesome, like community experience.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the juggling audience is my absolute favorite. I love juggling in front of jugglers because they're pretty much on your side no matter what. And they really appreciate when you do something hard, and very forgiving when you do something not as well as you should have, or you drop or something.
mhm. All right, so what you do is, I mean, you can do a lot of things, and not just
I
numbers.
try.
I
I
mean,
try to at least.
watching you walk around at the Juggling, you would watch Mike Moore or Quinn Lewis do some crazy boxing, and then you would sit there and you'd work on it for like 2 minutes, and then you'd be doing it. So obviously, you pick things up quick, but at the same time, you do have to practice, and you practice a lot. You're also an engineering student.
Yes.
How do you make time for it?
Um, I mean, depending on my workload, I will take study breaks. Um, I don't know. It's just kind of prioritizing my free time towards juggling. Like I like to use the example of I'm at Cornell, D1 athletes. They spend sometimes 30 hours a week at practice. I'm definitely not juggling 30 hours, but it's a matter of priorities. And I'm not saying people should prioritize juggling more, but I have, and it's allowed me to practice more and get better.
How have you seen juggling change your life for the better?
Um, Probably sounds super cheesy, but it gives me self-confidence. I know when I'm walking around and like I know I really like who I am. I wouldn't change who I am for someone else. Um, yeah, I think self-confidence. I think it's taught me to be confident in my ability to learn things, and taught me how to go about learning things. Um, yeah.
All right. And how have you seen it positively impact people's lives around you?
I love when I juggle and it puts a smile on people's faces, um, and they like actually are entertained and not just like, "Whoa, he's good." Because like I feel like it affects people differently when they enjoy what I'm doing as opposed to just are impressed.
How so? At the Juggle In, you were doing really technical stuff because that's what we all wanted to see. When you're performing for people that maybe don't know as much about juggling, do you change what you do at all?
No.
Okay.
I the only way I know how to perform is just technical stuff. And it's something I've been trying to change. I do a lot more 3 and 4 ball stuff than I used to, but it's I have the most confidence in my technical stuff, and so I'm the most confident putting on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's something I've been trying to work on, trying to make my performances more interesting as opposed to just harder.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Do you have any ideas of things you're gonna do in the future?
I think just how I can move around the stage, how I can use my throws to move. Um, I mean, it's really easy for me to say I just have to get better at 3 balls, but I don't actually think that's the issue. I have a friend who in Ithaca who said he would help me with my performance, and I'm gonna take him up on that because he's really good at putting together interesting performances and really cool things. Um, yeah.
Awesome. All right, so here's a bunch of quick fire questions for you.
Okay.
What jugglers have you looked up to along the way?
My original inspiration was Wes Peden. He went to the same club as me when I was 6. So I've always looked up to Wes as a creative influence, as a just an inspirational juggler. And Tony Pezzo and Patrick Elmner obviously are fantastic and have similar styles to Wes. I look up to Mike Moore. He's a fantastic 3 ball juggler. I really appreciate how he approaches 3 balls and how he increases his speed and how he does everything. And he's still like a pretty good numbers juggler. I've only found that out recently. Not that recently. I look up to Quinn Lewis. I really appreciate how he approaches patterns, and he approaches 3 ball in a way that I've never seen before, and I really appreciate. Who else? I must be missing like 1,000 people.
That's okay.
I look up to Doug Sayers. He's my clean pattern idol. I look up to Anthony Gatto because he's amazing, and I think, again, just very, very clean things, and just the way he approached juggling was, in my opinion, really good. Yeah, those are a few of my inspirations.
All right, that's a good list. What's your favorite trick or pattern to do?
The easy answer is 9 balls. When it works, it feels so good and so satisfying. That's like 1% of the time. But
that's not true. You get it most of the time. All right, and what's your favorite prop to use?
balls. Balls is
And
what I started with, and it's what I love.
a particular kind of balls?
I use homemade Russian balls. I take a wiffle ball, I drill into it, I put in salt, and then I close them up, and I'm done.
All right. Uh, best practice tip.
Best practice tip. Be critical of what you're doing. Always know what went wrong in a pattern and know what you're going to try and fix the next attempt.
Okay. So would you say, even if you think you have it down, go through it and figure out something that you can improve?
Yes, if you can't figure out anything to improve, practice something harder.
Okay.
And there's always something that's practicing something very similar, but is just plain harder.
Awesome. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you think would be beneficial for people to hear, or that you just want to talk about?
Yeah, I love site swaps. I love site swaps not just as a way to like label tricks, but I love site swaps as a way to come up with new tricks. I love learning when I can replace things in site swaps, whether it's two different numbers or a multiplex for a couple throws, or if I come up with a trick that I can then insert into a bunch of different site swaps. So, like, for example, a three throw, just learning how it can be a back cross or a behind the neck throw or whatever it is, using site swaps to create infinitely many tricks.
Do you think that your knowledge of site swap has changed the way that you juggle?
Yes, I would say so. I think it makes me juggle more intelligently and know what tricks I can practice to get to where I want to go.
So having that theoretical knowledge, you would say, is really important to once you're at a certain point to take it to the next level.
I would say so. I mean, I always find it interesting how Anthony Gatto was just so anti-site swap. And he's like, I don't need math to do this. And he obviously did amazing things, but I think that nothing can be hurt by learning the theory, and it can only help you. So I think there's no reason not to.
I think maybe a good comparison for Anthony Gatto is people who can read or who can play music by ear.
Yeah.
As opposed to people who, can't do that.
Yes.
And yeah, so like I've known a couple of people that were just brilliant piano players, but they couldn't read music.
Yes.
And it's like that really only gets you so far, at least in the music world.
Right. I mean, I think it's cool how, like, if you can read music and you're good enough at sight reading, you can just look at a piece of paper and play beautiful music. And just reading music allows you to do so many more things.
Yeah, that would be a funny little invention if you had like a music stand for site swap while you're drawing. So if people want to check out what you've done, where can they find you?
I am on Instagram, MatanP96. I post just little clips from practice or little tricks that I've created. And then I have a couple more full-length videos on YouTube and a couple of my performances. I think the thing I'm most proud of, like that I've created in terms of filming something, are my 2 full-length videos that I recorded last summer and then over fall break in the fall.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll definitely check those out.
Cool.
And I just thought of a question that I should ask everyone that I've never asked, which is in 5 years or 10, let's say 10 years. In 10 years, what do you want to be able to look back and say, I accomplished when it comes to juggling?
I don't know. I mean, that's a hard question because I love that juggling is infinitely expandable, and I love that I can always make progress. And I've accomplished a lot of the things that I set out as life goals a bunch of years ago, and I haven't really set new ones. So I would just say that I want to look back and see that I was continuously getting better. That would be amazing.
Awesome. All right, the last word goes to you. What's some
Okay.
words of advice for the juggling community at large?
Do what you love. We talk a lot about like how you should practice, how you should do this, what props you should do or shouldn't do. But ultimately, what drives me and what I practice is what I want to practice, and I appreciate that as just a hobbyist, I don't have to spend my time on anything. And I know that I have certain goals, and in order to achieve those goals, I have to practice certain things. But if I'm not feeling numbers juggling, I'm gonna juggle three balls that day. I do what I love when I love it, and no one's gonna tell me to do anything else.
Yeah. So if it ever starts feeling like a chore or it just doesn't get enjoyable, then what's the point? So
Yeah.
make sure you're doing what you love. I love that. All right. Well, thanks so much again for being with us. And
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Everybody else, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to check out my site, download Top 15 Ways to Take Your Juggling to the Next Level. Got a lot of great stuff coming in the next couple of months, so stay tuned. And until next time, keep on juggling.
Peace out.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, be sure to support the channel. Leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe.